Hunter.
Yeah, I can't really start without him.
We can begin.
No church bicycle.
No. Video.
Guys, straight, but your head's crooked.
What? She said what?
Easy. Let's avoid that word up here.
Multiple meetings.
I know.
One more minute.
That's yeah.
Well, my phone is showing 5:30, and this is the regular city council meeting on May 9th, 2022. I'm going to call this meeting to order. May we have a roll call of the council?
Counselor Long,
Here.
Runyon,
Here.
Randall,
Present.
Counselor Richardson,
Present.
Counselor McLaughlin, who is serving as president of the chamber of the council tonight,
Yes.
and the mayor is absent.
All right. Well, I've asked Councilman Scott Randall to say the pledge tonight. Go ahead, Scott.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A little digital delay. We go into, since there's no presentations or proclamations tonight, we'll go into number 6, audience participation. During this portion of the meeting, yes.
Sorry.
Approval of agenda.
Oh, yeah, let's go back and pick that up, please. I bypassed number 4, which is the approval of the agenda. Everyone has had a chance to look at the agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda with the supplemental agenda, adding item 9 to the consent agenda, the resolution number 22-019, accepting the appointment of Mayor Mays to the House Bill 4123 Advisory Committee.
Thank you. We have a motion as amended. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Now we go past the presentation proclamations and go to audience participation. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject which does not later appear on the agenda. Up to 5 minutes per person will be allowed. Citizens are encouraged to ask questions with the understanding that the city can either answer the question tonight or refer that question to the appropriate staff member who will get back to you within a reasonable amount of time. If a response by the city is requested, the speaker will be referred to the city manager, Daniel Hunter, for further action. The issue may appear on future meeting agendas for city council consideration. Do we have anyone that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Patrick Wilburn.
Would you come on up to the microphone, state your name and your address? Pull that mic closer to you.
My name is Patrick Wilburn. I live at
Well, turn it on. On the button on the end.
My name's Patrick Wilburn. I reside at 1112 Pentland Street, The Dalles, Oregon. I would like to address the esteemed members of the City Council. The reason why I'm here today is not only a citizen of The Dalles, I'm representing the Oregon Military Order of Purple Heart. I am the Junior Vice Commander for the Military Order of Purple Heart in the state of Oregon. The proposal that I am sending to you guys today is to make the City of The Dalles a Purple Heart city. This is at no cost to the city or county entity. What this is for is to show the veterans, not only of Wasco County and the City of The Dalles, that they show their contribution to their not only service, but to some of them that have lost their lives in battle and gave us the highest honor that they probably do to our government. Like I said, it's at no cost to the government. The Military Order of Purple Heart provides all the signs, provides all the everything. Just need to make sure to see whether the city would like to have the proposal and be a Purple Heart city. This is a mission that I have taken on as a newly appointed junior department commander. And I'm hopefully going to bring it to more cities and the rest of the 36 counties in the state of Oregon. Thank you for hearing me today, and thank you very much.
Any questions? Patrick?
He's provided material to Izetta that will come back in the form of a proclamation, whatnot, for another meeting.
What kind of signage, Patrick?
So the signage is provided by the roads. It's working in correlation with the roads department and the Purple Heart Trail. So it's in a subsidiary of the Military Order of Purple Heart that wants to advocate and show. So that basically it's an official sign that all states have agreed upon. I have a example right here. Now, depending on how anybody wants it, there's a couple different examples of it. It'll say, Purple Heart City. It'll either say the Dalles or whatever area you'd like to put on it. They're either white, they're purple, but they're usually no bigger than 8.5 by 12, I believe. They can be requested to be bigger upon the department if you guys would like to display it bigger, but they do have some standardized signage that they do use.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know if Patrick mentioned it or not, but he is a Purple Heart recipient.
Yes, I am also a Purple Heart recipient in the Wasco County Veteran Service. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Harrigus, would you like to present?
Sure.
Pull that mic over, then we can hear on Zoom,
Just hand you a few of these.
of course.
Good evening, council members. I'm here. I'm here representing the Fort Dallas Fourth Committee. And I sent an email to everybody, all council members, this weekend, and I didn't know if everyone had an opportunity to see that or not. I have a copy of it with me. I've included a copy in that packet I've given you. In lieu of saving time, we wouldn't necessarily need to read that email. But basically, I'm here to address some concern regarding the proposed budget that was approved for the Fort Dallas Fourth, and how it was slashed back. Like I said, I could get into the email, but basically what had happened is it was $2,500 or $25,000 proposed budget that I was under the impression through goodwill from Julie Kruger that was going to be approved. I was never at any point anybody from the committee asked to that it was important that I come to a budget meeting, or even requested that it would be a good idea to come to a budget meeting. And that didn't happen. I also submitted a P&L to Julie that apparently didn't arrive to the budget meeting either. The biggest thing I wanted to include in that email or in that packet really is the Fort Dallas Fourth Committee, everybody that's on the committee and their contact info. At that budget meeting, it was implied that we weren't being upfront and honest about our financial, honest, should I say honest? I should say more upfront and willing to reveal our monies and where we're at. And that is not true. We have, like I said, a P&L and a QuickBooks that we're more than willing to share with the council. And actually, I would like an opportunity at some point that we could address the council individually or as a group to discuss the matter. And we're just looking for a good event. We're more than willing to share all the financial and make sure that we're as honest and transparent with our funding. With this, with the city's help, we've had great support through the committee, but through the residents and through businesses, and it's just an event that can't be pulled off without the city's support as well. So I guess that's really all I need to tell you. Like I said, I'm interested to meet with all of you individually or as a group to go over what we proposed and what we'd like to accomplish with this event, and how important that fully budgeted amount is for us. Anybody have any questions? Or and I know this isn't the time or the place for you to come up with any kind of solutions to our problem, but like I said, I just want to be open and honest about it. The whole committee does.
Questions? Yes.
Oh, well, I'll just make a comment. So I appreciate this information, and I think that obviously we had a transition with our city manager who talked to you transitioning out prior to the budget meeting. And I think if Julie had still been here, she could have given us this information and let us know that you had provided it. And that would have made a difference, for me. I don't know. I mean, the budget isn't final because the city council has to vote on it. And so we still have time to figure out what we want to do as a council, whether it's keep it the same or add some money back in for you. So I just want to clarify that because like you said, you did present it and we just didn't get it.
Other questions? I have several. One, so what you're doing is you're requesting 15,000 to be reinstated, mainly because you've signed a contract for the fireworks that it's upcoming this year.
Correct. And that's all in that email that I presented to you that, yes.
So
We signed a contract for $50,000 under the assumption that we were raising the 25 and the city would participate in the other 25,000.
All right, so I think we'll direct this to the incoming city manager because Matthew and I have spoken and he's fully aware of your commitment and we're willing to sit down and not negotiate, but we'll listen to your request for $15,000 to reinstate so that the fireworks could go ahead.
Okay.
So.
And like in that packet, there is both my correspondence with Julie on not only this year's event, but last year's event that kind of shows you her confidence that things would happen. And in no way in that did she ever ask me to propose that. So
Sometimes things like this do happen, especially in transitions.
Sure.
So
Of
what
course.
our intent is to come back and do fair, and we don't want to leave you in a lurch. So what we'll do is we accept your request and we'll process it and get back to you.
Sure. Appreciate it.
Bet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. Any other audience participation? Here's your opportunity. You have 5 minutes. Yes, please come forward. And if you would state your name and your address.
Steve Timmons, 1527 East 18th Street. And I'm primarily here just to reiterate and support what Matt said. I am a new committee member on the Fort Dalles fireworks, and I'm pretty meticulous about being on other committees, how money is spent, especially when it's benefiting the community. I'm very confident and can tell you that none of it is going anywhere except towards the fireworks. For the past several years, we've had many family members, we've had visitors come to our home to watch the fireworks. And 3 years ago, after that point, our business decided to contribute to be a primary sponsor in this. It brings fabulous opportunity to our community. And I do think there was miscommunication that occurred through this. I guess just adding to this, I think it would be helpful what the city's intention is, not only this year, and hopefully you would reinstate that 15,000, but also for future years, so that we as a committee can determine, what our responsibility is and what we need to do. I'm primarily just here to support Matt and the whole committee.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? All right. Hearing or seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on. We finished. Let's go to city manager report.
Thank you. Just a reminder to council, we've got a new police officer. He starts on Thursday, but we'll be swearing in at 1 p.m. on Friday. Kenyon Reams is his name. 1 o'clock Friday. Police department. Want to come to the swearing in? I have 2 other items that were part of an approved funding from SAFE funds, and that was the camera system that was installed at the police department and some on City Hall. And that was originally approved at $36,185, and the total cost came in at $40,778. And the other piece of that is we had a approved request for $14,400 for new vests and carriers for police officers, and the total cost on that came in at 18,500. And so I just wanted to make sure council was comfortable with increasing those amounts. The numbers or the contractors have already been paid on the camera system, but the vests have not yet been ordered. Both of these increases will result in about 5,000 remaining in that budget line, and I have no anticipation of further expenditures on that this year. And that's my report.
Thank you. Council member reports. Darcy Long, would you like to begin?
Sure. So
You're okay with the extra spending?
We're asking for a request. Back and discuss this.
What's the total, Daniel? Above and what we were expecting on those two items?
So on the camera system, it's going to be $4,600 more. And on the vests, it will be $4,100 more.
This would just increase the line items in the budget that we have already considered for the coming fiscal year.
No, this is for deductions to the safety line item in council's budget.
Thank you.
All right. My question always, do we have the money to cover this? All right. That's the important question. So what is your pleasure? Let's make a motion, or do we need a motion? Do we need like consensus? What's a consensus? Councilor Randall, what's your?
I agree.
All right. I also agree. All right. So it's a consensus of the city council that we approve the request. Is there anything else before I move on? All right. Let's go on now to city council reports. Darcy?
So in the last couple of weeks, I met with the Dalles Main Street and talked to them about some proposals they have for the next year. I also attended the budget meetings, the same as all the other counselors, and that lasted 3 nights this year. And the recommendation for the budget is coming forward to city council. So if you're not familiar with the process, that means it will come before city council at future day. I'm not sure exactly which, June 13th. And then council will vote on it or make changes before we vote on it at that time. And that is my report.
I'm going to pass on the report tonight, and I move to my left, Councilor Richardson.
Same as all the other counselors, I think. Much reading and discussion and meetings on the budget in the last couple of weeks.
All right. And Councilor Runyon.
Budget committee, of course, attended the ribbon cutting for Dirt Hugger out to the west end of town now, a part of our community and a taxpayer now in the city limits. I don't know if they are still going to have their facility across the river for the production part or not.
This Cross River will be commercial and the Dalles will be.
Yeah. And Don Hurt left the community of the Dalles after 24 and a half years. And I attended that little get together out at Casa El Mirador, and good time was had by all, and wish her well. She's still in town working from home. She'll travel to Eastern Oregon as the Eastern Oregon LCDC representative periodically, but most of her work will be done right here. So we haven't lost her as a citizen. We've just had her, seen her get a promotion to the state of Oregon. And then today, the Mid-Columbia Veterans Memorial Committee met, and following that, had the conversation with Patrick that brought him here tonight. And I can't wait to move forward on his request.
That concludes.
That's it.
Councilor Randall.
Thank you, Councilor McLaughlin, or should I call you President McLaughlin? Other than the Budget Committee, on April 29th, the Historic Landmarks Commission approved 2 separate requests for modifications and restoration work to buildings on 2nd Street and 4th Street. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. Yes.
I'm sorry, I forgot that I was going to mention something I forgot at the last meeting, actually. We talked a lot about Cherry Festival, and I think I realized after I went home that we actually didn't acknowledge that the Dallas Chamber of Commerce puts that on with their small staff. And so I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that that big event is actually a big fundraiser for the chamber, their main one of the year, and they also put that entire thing on. So we didn't mention that, but thanks, Lisa.
I'm a 49-year resident of the Dalles, and I participated in just about every Cherry Festival, either as a participant or observing. And it was by far one of the best, well-attended Cherry Festivals that I've seen in close to 50 years. So it was a good job and a good time for all. We'll continue those efforts, won't we? All right. Yes, I agree with you. All right. We are now up to the consent agenda number 9. Items of routine and non-controversial nature are placed on the consent agenda to follow the city council to spend its time and energy on important items and issues. Any councilor may request an item be pulled from the consent agenda and be considered separately. Items pulled from the consent agenda will be placed on the agenda at the end of the action items section. And on the consent agenda tonight, A, approval of the April 11th, 2022 regular city council meetings. B, approval of the April 25th, 2022 regular city council meetings. And C, resolution number 22-018, adopting the City of the Dalles accrued sick leave payout policy. And D, resolution number 22-019, which I don't have it in front of me. Supplemental. Okay. Short term. Here it is. All right, accepting the appointment of Mayor Mays to the HB 4123 Advisory Committee. All right, we have a motion.
Mr. President, I would move that we would accept the consent agenda as amended,
As presented.
as presented. Thank you.
I'll second that.
We have a second, we have a motion. Any other discussion on this item? Not hearing any. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The motion is carried. All right, we move on to number 10, contract review board actions. Number A, contract number 2022-006, Scenic Drive Stabilization Phase 3. Okay, you're up.
Good evening, members of the council. This project is for completing the final 265 feet of the 1,070 feet total soldier pile retaining wall system that we were installing for the East Scenic Drive stabilization project. Back in 2015, we completed the first phase of that project. Then in 2019, we completed the second phase. And again, this will be completing the last phase of the installation of the soldier pile retaining wall system. We will then, after completion of this project, we'll be looking at start funding for the fourth and final phase of the project, which will happen in a couple of years. That fourth and final phase will be for reconstructing the entire roadway segment and cross section from Jefferson Street to Esther Way. That project will consist of rebuilding the roadway, putting a new surface on, installing new curb, gutter, and sidewalk on both the north and the south sides of the street, and then installing a sidewalk on the south side of the street, and then a small little portion of sidewalk on the north side of the street down by Esther Way. But again, that'll happen after this project's over and in a couple of years from now. For this project, we had a bid opening, and on April 21st, we received 2 bids for this project. Crestline Construction submitted the low bid at $547,007. They were actually the contractor that did both the first phase and the second phase. So now they have the low bid for the third phase. We reviewed the bids, and all the bids, or their bids, were deemed complete. We had an engineer's estimate for that project for the amount of $568,375. And then for the budget, we had, the city had budgeted $564,940. And that was out of Street Fund 13, line code 7510. So the low bid for this project from Crestline Construction came both under our budgeted amount and under the engineer's estimate. So that was good news compared to the way budgets and some of the projects have been coming in recently. So with that, staff recommends that the city authorize the city manager to enter into contract with Crestline Construction for the East Scenic Drive Stabilization Phase 3 project, contract number 2022-006, an amount not to exceed $547,007.
Do we have any questions for Mr. McCabe? Anyone?
I have one.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Just simply, what's a soldier pile retaining wall?
It's a retaining wall where they pile drive like I-beams into the ground, and then they'll have like a board system that goes and puts the walls in between those piles that have been driven into the ground. And it creates that retaining wall system.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Mr. Randall, any questions?
No.
Good, okay. So may I have a motion on the floor, please?
I'll make the motion to authorize the city manager to enter into contract with Crestline Construction for the East Scenic Drive Stabilization Phase 3 project, contract number 2022-006, in an amount not to exceed $547,007.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? Then we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we're moving on to 10B. Thank you very much. Contract number 2022-005, the Dog River Pipeline Replacement Timber Removal. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of council. First, I want to draw your attention just real quick on the issue title tonight. It's actually will be contract number 2021-005. I think the agenda says 2022. And with that, one of the elements of the Dog River Pipeline Replacement Project is removal of the timber along the pipeline corridor and in the needed staging areas to clear room for construction of the pipeline beginning this year. In April of last year, the city awarded a contract to Y East Timber Services to serve as the city's timber management consultant for this element of the project. Since then, Y East has worked with the city staff, coordinated with Jacobs Engineering, who's the design engineer for the project, and the U.S. Forest Service to develop an RFP, or request for proposals, for this contract to provide the needed timber removal services. Those services will include the cutting and removal of trees and downwood from the pipeline corridor, the construction staging areas, and the logging decks, the decking of the logs that are created, and the processing of slash that will later be disposed of by the Forest Service. I want to point out that there won't be any any revenue generated for the city, because this is timber that's owned by the Forest Service, and we are just cutting it and decking it for them to sell later by their own means. We developed this solicitation as an RFP rather than a straight low bid price, because we wanted to ensure that we selected a contractor that had an understanding of the project design criteria established by the Forest Service. We wanted a contractor that had the technical capability and the capacity to complete the work and then do so in the timeline that we needed the work to be done with, and that they had enough of an understanding to be able to do the work in compliance with all the permits that have been issued for this project. We scored the proposals that were received by using staff from both Y East and city staff. And the scoring was 55% of the points were allowed for the evaluation criteria, and 45% of those points were based on price. We received two proposals in the opening on April 26th. All four reviewers were unanimous in their rankings, and the proposal from Bounds Excavation was scored as being the best proposal received. It was also the lowest cost proposal, coming in at $469,650. Within Fund 53, the Water Reserve Fund, we've allocated $11,201,726 for the Dog River Pipeline in the current fiscal year. For those who are keeping track, this is a slightly larger number than I mentioned in the last staff report, and that's because in the last report, I forgot to account for the funds that had been added through a supplemental budget to the available budget for this project. The current budget had been allocated for $500,000, or the project budget had been allocated $500,000 for this work. So there are adequate funds available for this project. With that, it's staff's recommendation that the city council move to authorize the city manager to enter into contract with Bounds Excavation in an amount not to exceed $469,650 for contract number 2021-005, the Dog River Pipeline Replacement Timber Removal Contract.
Very much. All right, questions? Any questions of Mr. Anderson? Go ahead.
I've just noticing that at least on this one, there's 3 zeros after the period, so I might want to strike one of those.
Myself, and since it's on that side of the decimal, it doesn't affect the price any.
Don't want anybody to think it's 469 million.
No.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes.
Dave, would you remind us what approximate round numbers or figures? What's the scale of the timber removal? How long of a corridor are we talking about?
So we're talking a corridor that's 3.5 miles long.
Yeah.
We're going to be utilizing an existing Forest Service dirt road for as much of that corridor as we can to reduce the footprint of the project. The corridor that we're allowed to clear where we're going through standing timber is 25 feet wide. So 3.5 miles long, 25 feet wide.
And they can't drop it across the pipeline, presumably.
One of the benefits of moving most of the project into the road is it gets us away from the existing pipeline and helps protect it to remain in service while we're doing the project.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Any timber that's down, is there a potential of any value of that timber?
Also, the downwood doesn't have value. Even standing timber, if it's killed in a fire, only has merchantable value for about 1 year. That's why you got to move in if you're going to do a salvage sale really quickly.
Other questions? Mr. Randall?
None.
Okay, excellent. Move on. I'll take a motion on the floor since we've asked our questions. Any motion?
I will move to authorize the city manager to enter into contract with Bounds Excavation in an amount not to exceed $469,650 for contract number 2021-005, the Dog River Pipeline Replacement Timber Removal Contract.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Good. Councilor Randall, second. All right. Any other further discussion? Then let's pull it for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. We are now moving into executive session. The City Council of the Dalles will now meet an executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6660-2A, which allows the council to meet an executive session to cover the employment of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent. Representative of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. All right.